Welcome to another edition of the Business Plain and Simple podcast presented by the Regroup Advisors. I'm your host, Tiffany Stone, and it's our goal with this and all of our podcasts to guide prospective and current business owners on their journey to prosperity. We want to show you what to do and what not to do in this ever-changing environment. And I'm thrilled to be joined once again today by the one, the only Mike Koszubski from the Regroup Advisors. Mike, I love that intro. You know you're going to get that every single time. You are the one and the only. So, Mike, thank you once again for joining us. Now, we just chatted with a great group of panelists for their challenges that they had for 2024. So if you guys haven't seen that, make sure you watch that previous video. That will get you up to date and, of course, show you what we're talking about for the outlook for 2025. So, Mike, 2025 is just around the corner. It's a new year. People are excited. I always feel like come January, everybody revamps. However, at the end of 24, budgets come in. We have new ideas come in that are pushed forward for 25. So how does 25 look like for the rest of the business sector, and what's going to be kind of new for this year?
Yeah, Tiffany. Yeah, great. I for 2025, I want to just say, when you do the intro, I need walk-up music from now on. So I'm just saying, I need a theme song or something, because I'm just saying that should be my outlook for 25.
Before you go, I just watched on, I think it was Netflix or Peacock. It was the Vince McMahon story. So I just watched all of those wrestlers come up with some music. So I think we should give you either Stone Cold Steve Austin or the Undertaker music as you come through.
There we go. I'm good. Either one. Yeah, dealer's choice there. So, so 2024 was interesting. 25, I think, is going to be more interesting. There's a couple of things that I think are coming into play here. Bitcoin seems to be coming to the forefront as far as payment methodologies. I think businesses are going to have to start looking at accepting that and understanding it, and how to deal with that. You're seeing, from an investment standpoint, from our standpoint, we see a lot of new opportunities coming into play. Technology is getting deployed. I mean, you're looking at a lot of the advancements in the artificial intelligence side, and where I think it's going to get both exciting and challenging. I think existing businesses that aren't looking at taking advantage of some of these advancements or getting to consumers in a different manner, it's going to be hard to get funding, because we're seeing, I mean, I can tell you, we get on average 50 to 75 funding requests a month. And we can't possibly fund everything, right? And so you're needing to figure out a way to get in line and get positioned. You can get a lot of meetings. A lot of people will take your meeting. A lot of people have a conversation with you, but actually getting funding, I think, it's harder when there's a lot of momentum, because there's so many more deals. And once again, if I'm used to seeing 10 deals, I have a smaller selection. If I'm seeing 75 deals, you're up against 74 other people. And how do you stand out? So I think as business owners, if you're looking for funding, you're looking to try to do that stuff 20, 25, and 26, with all the momentum coming in, you're going to have to figure out how to navigate that. The other thing Melissa brought up in the 24 side of it, businesses are being pressured on insurance, and David mentioned food costs, and John, everybody kind of chimed in on these areas. We also look at businesses from a risk standpoint. So the dangerous thing you can do is, even though costs are going up, you need to find the money, because if you start cutting insurance coverage and you come to us and say, hey, I want to get funding, I'm not going to fund you because you don't have the risk management in place. Or if you're not looking at your metrics and you can't explain to us how to protect our money, we're not going to give it to you, because you don't have the metrics to assure us that you're just not running things out the door. And everybody's in a different stage. Brian mentioned he's early on, and there's challenges when you're in there, but he's navigated that, and some have been around for a while. So I do think overall, a lot of excitement, a lot of opportunity. It's going to be those that take advantage of the opportunity, grow in a manner that is regimented, try not to just go willy-nilly. I think everybody's kind of said keep your focus on, but start to move into those areas. And I do think that's where the excitement is. So we're looking forward to a 25, 26 kind of ramp up on some opportunities. And from our standpoint, we're now more inclined to start investing in things than we were in 24. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mike. And I do want to move over to Megan and talking about that. Megan Hubbs, you had mentioned in 24 about Small Business Hub grant program, people coming up. And now Mike had just mentioned, we just saw it hit, Bitcoin hit over $100,000 per Bitcoin. We also have another cryptocurrency, XRP, that's coming up. Many people are talking about that because some have talked about how it is backed by the banks, where Bitcoin necessarily isn't. It's not necessarily a free for all, but there's no real chain of, if something happens, who can I talk to? So being a part of the Velocity Small Business Hub grant program, are you thinking that you might start seeing people say, hey, I have 6 Bitcoins, or is Bitcoin going to be a thing? Is XRP, is cryptocurrency going to be a thing? What about my stocks? Or are we still just working with cash? So, or liquidity, or, and being able to have that, where do you kind of see all of this going in the Business Hub grant program?
I think Mike alluded to it as well. It's, I think we haven't heard a lot from our small business owners about that, or utilizing AI. It's just sort of percolating, and I think it is a conversation to be keeping front of mind, because it's something that everyone's going to have to start facing. And I wanted to circle back to something that John mentioned, that I thought about. It's a little bit of a segue, but when you were saying that you had to make choices about who your providers were and taking the time to make that choice, I was thinking your customers make a choice to come to you every day, and you're a customer of all these organizations that support your business. So it's important to own that choice in the providers that you're working with, and along the lines of Mike, making sure you have an insurance. That's an important choice to make, to support and secure your business along those lines. So it's a little bit of a segue, but I was just thinking of that, just owning that choice. A challenge for us in 2025 is we have a short runway for this grant, and it runs out September 2026, and there's no guarantee that this is continued. So as we're doing work to gather people to know that we exist, now we really have to get out there and do. 2025 is going to be a banner year for getting that programming and support out there, and also continuing to broaden our reach. I know we talked last time about narrowing your focus, so we kind of have to broaden and then narrow ourselves. We need to broaden enough to understand the needs of the community and small businesses, and then make sure we're bringing the most effective support to those businesses. So through the programming, through mentors, like Mike and other programming, so that people can really understand their businesses and understand those challenges. And it's ever changing, like how does Bitcoin come into play, and when and if businesses have to factor that into their business decisions, and how to utilize all the resources available to them. So that's sort of a little all over the place, but where we're thinking for 2025 is just a really important year for us and our business owners.
No, you're absolutely correct. And there's a few words I feel like for 2025, we're going to see a lot of cryptocurrency, AI. I know ChatGPT has been taking over. It's actually been helping a lot of business people and people starting out, just like Brian was talking about. How do you get to that starting line? Sometimes ChatGPT says, hey, I want to do all these things. You type this in, and it kind of not necessarily sets the foundation, but it gives you an idea, I'm kind of old too, so I still do mind maps. I don't know if anybody else does mind maps or like the little trees where you type in and you just draw things out, but that's kind of what I do. So I see where we're going, and it's kind of exciting to see what's going to happen for 2025. So thank you so much, Megan. Moving over to John Meredith. Now, John, for 2025, once again, you had talked about some of the challenges in 24, and like I still keep saying, I don't see how there's any challenges for chocolates. I love chocolates and I love desserts, but what's the outlook looking for 25? Because I know that you mentioned making sure that you pick the right companies to work with, making sure that you have these things, some of the inflations, but now looking forward for 25, what are going to be the things that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to bring into what Mike and Megan said, two parts is, A, opportunity, B, education for myself, educating myself. Opportunity and education for us is knowing our competition. We go into New Year's like an NFL team, basketball, NBA team, professional athlete, of knowing your opponent that week, but we do it for all year. There's not too many craft chocolate stores that make everything in-house and sell at retail, not only in southeastern Michigan, but across the country. Their platforms are much different. We can use a Kilwins from Michigan or a Rocky Mountain, where you have a franchisee, they bring in their product and then the customer is getting it, it's not fresh. Opportunity and educating ourselves of what the competition's doing, when it's doing it, and how they're going to roll out platforms only increases our customer service to our customers that are coming in. And then using word of mouth from those education when customers come in and opportunities to allow them to go out and say, hey, have you ever checked out a craft chocolate store? Because there's not too many of them. Please use this one. Mm-hmm. My theory goes back, and I'll end on this. A long time ago in college, I had a finance professor, that drew the economical curve on the board and then drew a straight line through it and said, if you pull it long enough, it's always straight. You just have to know what side to be on. Well, that's what we do when we go into 2025 with our competition and educating ourselves. Where are they going to be? Where do we want to position ourselves to be competitive against them? Because I believe any small business owner or corporate business, you have competition. That's what makes us do better. And if we understand our competition and we educate it on that, it's not trying to hurt their business. It's trying to learn and educate where you're going to grow your business. So in 2025, we have hurdles that we always look at, but where's our opportunity? And then what do we do to educate ourselves to optimize our opportunities that are out there from other retailers or businesses in our industry or in our segment so that we shine?
No, you're absolutely correct, John. And, I've mentioned before, if you guys didn't watch the challenges for 2024, but I've mentioned some things about racing, and I feel that same way. So when we're racing, say we're short course racing, it's a small thing, you watch your competition, you see what they're doing, you see what they're trying to do, and then you capitalize on that mistake. If they make that mistake, you either capitalize on it, you learn, you educate yourself on what not to do because they just made that mistake for you, so at least you don't have to do it. But that's exactly what racing is. You watch, you figure out where you're going to try to take that over, and then if they make that mistake, you capitalize on that. So I really like how the two words were educate and opportunity. Those are great words for the outlook for 25. Thank you so much, John.
Hey, Tiffany, I thought of something else I want to request for 2025. I need you to actually cover one of the races that I'm driving in. And then I'll feel like I finally made it.
That is awesome. Race season's about here. Like I live in Arizona now, and so desert season here, it is going to be a nice 72 degrees for everybody, not to make everybody feel bad, but it's going to be 72, and I'm going to go hiking later, but no, I will definitely do that for you, Mike. That is awesome. All right. So let's go to Mike Trago. Now, Mike, being somebody who is in a sector where it's, a little bit different. Like you said, you're still bringing this out there. You're showcasing what you have. You're showcasing why people need this. What's your outlook for 25?
We actually, this Q4 of 24 has been really good for us. And And so we're looking at some significant growth going into 2025. And just listen. It's nice to be able to listen to everybody and see all these different scenarios. I think one of ours, it'll be a challenge on the talent side, like bringing in new talent. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of it's something that you can't call somebody up and say, hey, so you're into printed glass technology. Are you looking for a job? Right? It's like, but we all of the management here have ISO backgrounds, and we've written out all the work procedures and so forth. We've also created training programs. We just haven't had anybody go through them yet. So I picture that being a challenge, but not a huge one. I mean, as a business owner, it's investment. You're investing in somebody. You bring them in, and sometimes it doesn't go well. Sometimes you find all the superstars, and everything's just perfect. So I just thought that's probably the biggest challenge that we'll end up with.
Well, and going a little bit further, like you said, you're investing in somebody, and sometimes you find those superstars. So what's going to happen for 2025 when you do find those superstars? You said you created this program to be able to teach them about, the glass design and what's going for there. So for the outlook, does it look like once you find that superstar, you're going to create a team around that? Or is it just going to say, hey, we're going to keep trying to find this person? And like you said, it's going to be difficult to say, hey, do you do glass design?
Yeah, I believe definitely in building teams. It's something that I don't think we could do it without building a good team, and having the right leaders is key. And once you get the synchronicity, everything just happens, right? It's like it's a great thing, and we've got a lot of experience, business experience between us, and it's exciting. It's actually exciting. I mean, we're really pumped up right now. So we've 2024, to Mike's point earlier, was an interesting year. So where you start out in Q1 and you're headed to the moon, and then by Valentine's Day you're going, where'd you go, sweetheart? So it was it was interesting. It was a roller coaster. And what we did, we changed lanes a couple times. We went commercial, and that has opened up a lot for us. And we've been working with clients that are giving us commitments to 2025, like in the healthcare industry, hospital. Where they just want glass all over their hospital. Well, that's music to our ears, right? But it goes back to who's going to do it. Yeah. So, and in our business, there's no in between. It's either right or it's wrong. It's good or it's bad. And so those are, and quality is definitely a core value here. It's a necessity for sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Mike. And I like how you said that, in our previous one, David had mentioned about how he got some advice of stay in your lane after he had opened up a second one. Here, you are moving out of the lane. And I feel like sometimes you do have to switch lanes, like you either stay in there, but hey, sometimes we want to go into the fast lane, but maybe we need to come back and see that. So it's good to see that switching lanes did help you in that regard, so you could figure out what you want to do on that commercial side. So thank you so much, Mike.
Right. Yeah. In our industry, the analysts are, saying there's a lot of pent up disposable income, that because people are trying to figure out where are we at, what's going on, the with the election year and everything that is, to deal with that. It's it seems that like even in the we follow the Home Builders Association, and everything on that they're projecting right now is like a good, steady, solid 1% growth. We follow permits. When the builders are pulling permits, that's a good thing. People are buying properties, and everything's thumbs up on the sales side of it. So the forecast looks good. And if we can get interest rates and inflation under control, I think 2025 could just go way beyond our expectations.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to our next guest, Melissa. Now, Melissa, you talked about some of your challenges that you had for 24, especially being an owner and also another co-owner of an electric company. Moving forward for 25, we just heard Mike talk about keeping some of the people and, making those investments. And you had mentioned that in 24 is being able to keep some of the talent, and what can you give them and what benefits and what options you could do that. So what does 25 look like for you?
This morning I thought about both of these things, right? 2024, and then kind of what does 2025 look like to me? And when I thought about 2024, I thought 2024 was the year of fear. I think decisions were based on fear. A lot of, just people were nervous. It was a very tough and challenging year. And so when I look now that we've kind of got 2024 in the rear view and I'm looking at 2025, I think 2025 is going to be the year of progress and optimism. And, as a business owner, I think, some of our decisions aren't going to be based on fear, and we might get a little more risky and do things that really make sense for the growth of the company as opposed to holding back. On the insurance side of things, I think technology innovation is going to be a huge way in 2025 to kind of leverage, price increases and things like that. So a lot of our insurance partners or carrier partners are leveraging AI, as a way for quicker claims processing and intake and things like that, which ultimately bring down admin costs, which, kind of trickles down into the rate. So if I looked at three things, I would say, product innovation, optimism, and leveraging technology resources that we have this year.
Those are some great words. Listening to everybody so far, we've had a chance to listen to 4 of the panelists, and John had talked about education and opportunity. You said optimism and being able to do that. Those are some great words. And we always talk about AI. And for you, as somebody on that insurance side, does AI scare you, or are some people nervous of AI? Is it something that it's our generation or the younger generation that's going to be using that more often?
I think AI, so I am in the generation of old dogs, new tricks. Technology is not my level of expertise, but I will tell you that I think the general consensus is that if you're not going to get involved in it, you're going to see yourself kind of segueing out. You have to utilize it. You have to know it. You have to see what's up and coming. I think in my industry, in the insurance side of things, account management and claims people and things are using it as a tool. It's taking work off their plates, and so I think it's a helpful asset in that regard. But as a business owner, I need to know it. I mean, that's what the future is, right? So if you don't, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So get out there, use it, try it, get in front of it, because if you aren't, your competitors are, and that's scarier, right? So
yeah,
definitely get in front of it.
It goes back to kind of what John was saying. It's like, hey, we're going to watch our competitors, see what they're doing. And I feel like we're in that cusp or that generational turn of where it was newspaper and magazines and then print. And if people didn't move, like the Wall Street Journal, Times magazines, if they didn't move also to the digital side, they were going to get left behind, because many people now have that. If you look at your cell phone, it's your map, it's your radio, it's your television, it's everything, it's your calculator, it's everything that's in there. And what we were talking about now, if you do the new updates for Apple, it has ChatGPT right in there for you. It does it. I'll be guilty of it. Some days I'm like, I write this email out and I'm like, it sounds horrible. I put that in there and I'm like, please make this sound more professional. And it's still my ideas, it's still my thoughts, but it's right there. And I think you're absolutely correct. If you don't at least try to understand it, you are going to get left behind the further we go. And come 2030, who knows what's going to happen by then, because we've moved so far in technology. I graduated. Yes, Mike, I'm going to age myself. I graduated in 2003 with no social media. I was one of the very fortunate ones who didn't worry about digital cameras, social media, cell phone, none of that. But now it's there. Like my 6-year-old nephew will be able to do that, and he's like boop boop boop, and I'm like, how did you do this? Now I feel like ChatGPT, AI, social media, even the VR stuff with the new Meta glasses, the Ray-Bans coming out, it's just going to be so easy to touch, tap, and I actually just saw this funny meme that said the creators of Black Mirror are no longer wanting to create stuff because we live in the times of all the episodes that they created. So it's cool to see where we're going with all of that. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Yeah, one thing I just want to say to small business owners, lean in. I graduated the same year as you. So my spring break is not detailed on Facebook or Instagram anywhere. But I lean in on your business partners and your resources, because everybody is doing, I could have went once a week last year, every week, to an AI training seminar, and those help immensely, and they're free and they're great networking events. Lean in on those. Just Google it, like AI or technology innovation seminars, or some are CE credits, and really force yourself to get in there and go to some of those, because those are really great resources.
Yeah, it's kind of like John said, back to educate, just educate, educate. Mike?
Yeah. Hey, Tiffany. Yeah, I wanted to, since we were on the AI topic, I'll just deviate for a second and talk about it's a huge tool for efficiencies and getting research and everything done in companies. And from an investor standpoint, we like to see that, because it does have a direct impact to the bottom line as people leverage AI in the proper way. Here's the negative to it, though, and this is, and I like to kind of, once again, I'm going to give it from an investor standpoint. A lot of times when we're looking at companies, people have used AI to do a contract, or they've used it to do some type of procedures. And AI is only as good as the topic that you're talking to it with. And so what people are doing, and what we're seeing, is you're actually introducing more risk in your business, because when you get into the due diligence and we're looking at funding you, we can tell a contract that was written by an attorney or one by AI. And there's so many loopholes in those contracts or in some of those strategy documents that it will absolutely 100% cause you not to get funded. And if you're trying to exit the business during the due diligence process, when that stuff comes up, it really lowers your value, because you've now created risk. So we've been telling everybody, use it right, but also I'm going to give you my perspective of don't overuse it, because you'll never get $1 out of our account to fund you if you've used it wrong. So just wanted to kind of chime in since we were on that topic.
No, you're absolutely correct. I use it to make my emails sound a little bit better. That's what I'm using it for. Or like, hey, I need a caption for this. Yep. I'm guilty of that too. Because sometimes you're just like, I'm out of captions. I'm not as funny as I thought I was, and it doesn't relay out there. So thank you so much, Mike. Let's move on to Brian. Now, Brian, you're the owner of Basque. So moving forward for the outlook for 2025, getting to that starting line, making sure everything's good. 24 was a great year for you to be able to do that. What does 25 look like?
I'd agree with the sentiment that 2025 has an incredible feel of optimism and excitement behind it. I would love to even share a little bit more about the tools that I've been using from an AI perspective. I'm a technologist, a mechanical engineer, and I've been a tech entrepreneur for the past 15 years. I would consider myself a ChatGPT super user. I probably use it about 8 hours a day, and I have for several years now. And I think like one of the cool workflows I'd love to just share that has been incredibly helpful, and something that I kind of discovered early on, was the notion that you can create chat logs that retain memory. And as a result of that, you can train a model specific to your business. And so I've literally spent over a year and a half now training a specific chat GPT LLM specific to Basque. And I actually think of it as like a team member at this point. I've named him. I've given him like a chief of staff position on the team, and we'll reference like Varda, and it's yeah. So it ties into this Scandinavian branding on the back end of Basque. And some of the cool things that I can do is generate a month's worth of content in about 2 minutes, and have enough execution to put that plan into action. I can use it to, as Mike mentioned, you do have to be very careful about AI hallucinations is what they're being referred to as. And so it's great for analyzing contracts. It's great for uploading data. It's great for uploading, I'll even take an architectural drawing, put it in there and ask it to analyze the throughput and the space, and how it's designed, and how much room we've spent on the sauna versus like room for the cold plunges and room for the lobby, and start to modulate and figure out, how to optimize for things like that. But it's a fascinating tool. And, to the point of, as John mentioned earlier, like we have to, as business owners, be able to do more with less. And tools like these are what enable me to do 10 times more than I could, rather than trying to take more work off my plate. Is how do I amplify what I can do and scale my time in a meaningful way.
And I think you're absolutely correct, Brian. Like what Mike was saying, like you have to at least have the foundation, the knowledge of what you're trying to do. But I've done the same exact thing that you've done. I said, hey, give me a week's worth of content that I could be able, that's tailored to off-road racing, Jeep, the outdoors, the desert. And it'll say, day 1, do this, day 2, do this. But it's not necessarily writing everything out for me. It's giving me that prompt, I guess, in order to be able to have daily content of being like, hey, I should do this, I should do that. Because sometimes, as myself, I guess I would call myself a content creator, as that you kind of not necessarily get burnt out, but you're like, what can I do that is still providing information? And I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Many people have just done it. It's just, what can I keep on doing to make what I'm talking about relevant? And, I don't necessarily write everything out, but it gives me a foundation to do that. And I think that's what you've been doing, Brian, with Basque as well. And Varda, is that the name?
Yeah, Varda.
Varda, that's awesome. It's cool to see somebody who's in that space and who uses it so much and be able to talk about it and kind of do all of those things. So it's really, really cool to see that.
Yeah, it's been a great tool. I'm very excited to continue to use it into 2025, and look forward to, as we get Basque up and running, using it to leverage engagement with members. Figuring out how do we develop our community? How do we communicate with our community? How do we organize and create events that make a lot of sense as we, develop this social wellness club? And, how do we think through the design of new products? Analyzing ingredients in our body wash, analyzing ingredients in our shampoo, and ensuring that, we're using the best we can to get rid of the endocrine disruptors, and thinking through what types of things that we can do from that perspective too. So it's been a great tool, and very excited for 2025.
That's awesome. I wish it would teach me how to keep my light on and not die from the the battery that's just happened. It's like, I want to keep this light on. But no, thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate that. That's awesome. And like I said, it's super cool to talk to somebody who's used this technology, like you said, 8+ hours a day. And that gives us, like, hey, we could all do this. And it's really cool. Thank you so much, Brian. Awesome. And let's move over to our last guest, David. Now, David, we've talked about what you had going on for 24, how you had this one store, you wanted to open a new one, but then financially you needed to bring it back. So what's the outlook for you for 25?
In 2025, our focus is to stay true to our mission while learning and growing through meaningful mentorships. So Melissa has been working probably for about 6 months or so closely with Velocity, and more recently Regroup. Through that work, there's a lot of focus on dedicating our growth, of her growth, and strengthening skills, confidence, and practices to run Clementine's Pastries. We have talked at home and as we reflect on our business that we really control our story. We can't rely on others to brand for us or to express what's happening through social media. We have that control. So we are really paying attention to and really focusing on the story that we tell, not only through social media, but also through our customer experiences. We're excited for 2025. Downtown Mount Clemens is going through a revitalization project where there will be construction done to update the infrastructure and the walkability of downtown while maintaining the historical integrity of the downtown itself. So there will be challenges with this revitalization project through construction, but there's a lot of excitement. This will bring a lot of interest, a lot of media exposure, and a lot of people interested to see what Mount Clemens is becoming. So we are very excited to be a part of that. And I think what's also important to point out is that Melissa and her team continue to stay true to the slogan of small batch baked fresh with a focus on quality. She continues to challenge herself and her team to stretch their creativity and to continue to build her business so it thrives and inspires others. For example, she came up with an idea of a Pastry of the Month Club. And this is going to be a pastry that's released once a month that she designs and will make it very artistic and creative and add personal touches from her to those members of the Pastry of the Month Club. So that's just something new and different. And I think there's been some intrigue from our customer base, whether they're existing or new, to see or to question what's next. What is she going to do next? What are they going to do next? And I want to be a part of that.
That's super, super cool. And going a little bit off of that, I absolutely love being able to do, the pastry of the month and get something new. I think it would be really neat, like you said, that they are doing a revitalization of downtown Mount Clemens. How cool would it be if you could once a month sign up and Melissa could teach you how to make the specific pastry of the month? So, hey, if you're not necessarily a part of it, but you want to learn how to do that. I'm a big person that I, for some reason, want to make sourdough now. So I've been watching all these videos on how to make sourdough. How cool would that be if you could be able to go to the pastry shop after hours, do all of that? And I think that's super, super cool. Going off of what Brian was talking about with AI, David, do you ever think that maybe, like you said, you guys are in control of your story and in control of that, but would you use AI to help, add a little bit to what your story is about or move forward with the social media and anything like that for 25?
Yes, we use AI regularly. I'm not full-time at Clementine's Pastries. I'm an educator by trade. So in my work and realm of life, I was just in a meeting earlier today where a group of educators were exploring how AI can be leveraged and utilized in a school setting, not only for students, but for also staff members. It's a tool. I believe AI is a tool. And if you understand how to use that tool, it can assist you to become more efficient and more effective. As I learn and grow in my use of AI, and Melissa does as well, we continue to try and determine or figure out how to leverage that in our work with Clementine's Pastries. AI is only going to continue to develop and various opportunities will be created. So it's our responsibility, I believe, to know what tools, whether it's AI or other things, to use it to help us to get better at our business sense. And AI is one tool that can help with that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, David, and thank you to the rest of the guests. Mike, I just want to bring you back in and talk about a little of the things that I've learned throughout this this chat. There's 3 words that really come out, educate, opportunity, and then I think the next one that I feel that we didn't really say it, but I feel that it's what's for 25 is resilience. I feel that everybody had 24, Melissa had said it was this kind of, hey, where are we going? But 25 looks great. So with those 3 words, educate, opportunity, and resilience, what do you feel like 25 is going to be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think it's the start of a lot of opportunities. The one thing that's really cool about this panel, I want to circle this back for everybody watching, is listen to who we have on here. We have Champagne Chocolates, very unique business. We have Basque, very unique business. Imagio Glass, very unique business. We have Melissa, who her husband and her have an electrical company. Do it very different than others out in the marketplace. Very different. Then you listen to Clementine's Pastry. Very different. What you're seeing on the screen here is a culmination of uniqueness and people taking opportunities and carving out niches. And then you throw Megan and Velocity on here, right? And Velocity has a great staff. Like we've had Rick Bennett on here before. Everybody at Velocity has a very unique specialty, and they're designed to be able to help people that we're talking to today, because there's hundreds of other companies out there that are unique. We always think that, everybody does like a restaurant or they do a bar, right? We fall into that routine where everything isn't unique. We have 6 guests here today that are all very unique in what they do. And when you learn about what they're doing and how different it is, you realize the opportunities that exist for somebody who wants to take on risk, go a little crazy, own a business, deal with all kinds of stress, no vacations, and basically gray hair coming in by the handfuls, and get to a point where they built something. And that's what I admire with everybody on here and their stories. So opportunity, I think, educating and continuing to grow. Those 3 words, Tiffany, you heard it here. Everybody kind of talks about the same thing, and they're all looking forward. They're not looking back. That's the other key I think is important. Everybody on this call today is looking forward because they've already dealt with the past, and now they're just waiting for the next hurdle. They know it's there, but they're preparing for it. And you said something interesting, and I learned this when I did racing school a long time ago. Going slow is faster. Mm-hmm. And if you steal that line from how drivers drive on a track, faster is slower. That's burned in our head all the time. My pit crew's bitching in my ear the entire time. Go slower to go faster, right? And it's hard to do. And that's hard for somebody in business to do as well. And I think everybody kind of said, yep, we're focused, and you hear that. So a lot of good common things, very different businesses on this call, very different perspectives. And so, thanks everybody for jumping on. I hope the viewers check out every one of these businesses on here, and learn a little bit more. And if you're in Macomb County, definitely check out Velocity. We've talked about them in the past, as far as the resources and things to help get it through. And yeah, Tiffany, you give a good perspective too, just kind of answering those follow-up questions and getting that stuff in there. So great. I appreciate everybody jumping on here today. I think the viewers are really going to like this content.
I agree. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us and providing some great information, everybody. I appreciate you taking out the time. Like you said, Mike, 6 great businesses here. Make sure you guys check them out. And that will do it for another edition of Business Plain and Simple podcast presented by the Regroup Advisors. Thank you guys so much for listening, and make sure to follow our podcast wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss future episodes, and you're going to be notified as soon as they are released. But if you want to catch up on past episodes, all you have to do is head over to the podcast feed. You're going to see them all right there. And if you're interested in business services offered by the Regroup Advisors, you can contact them at 888-248-7077.